Ready to dive into something I bet a lot of you are interested in. Reading faster and understanding more in English. We're gonna be dissecting a podcast script called How to Read Faster and Understand More in English. And yes, I know we're using a podcast to get better at reading.
Yay.
A little ironic, right?
Yeah.
But hey, stick with us. We're going to pull out the most useful tips and intriguing insights to help you become a more efficient and engaged reader.
There's actually a surprising amount of overlap between listening and reading.
Oh, absolutely.
Both involve decoding information, building vocabulary, and ultimately understanding meaning.
Exactly. So let's unpack this script. It starts by addressing why reading in English can feel like a real struggle.
Right.
Especially for those of you who aren't native speakers.
It's crucial to acknowledge the unique challenges here.
Yeah.
Vocabulary gaps, the temptation to constantly translate, even just feeling less comfortable with the structure of sentences.
And the script doesn't just leave us hanging with those challenges. It reassures us that we can absolutely overcome them.
Right.
Now, there's one detail that really grabbed my attention.
Okay.
Subvocalization. You know that thing where you hear the words in your head as you read?
Yeah.
Turns out it might be slowing you down.
Subvocalization is super common, especially if you learn to read by sounding out words.
Right.
But here's the thing. Our brains can actually process information much faster than we can speak.
Wow.
Those words in our heads. Subvocalizing is like putting a speed limit on your reading.
Okay, that's kind of mind-blowing. So how do we ditch this habit and unleash our brains? Full reading potential, the script outlines. 6 key strategies.
Okay.
And we'll get into the nitty-gritty of each one. But first, vocabulary. Instead of just memorizing definitions, the script stresses learning words in context.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Context is everything. Learning in context helps you understand not just the dictionary definition, but also the nuances of how a word is used in different situations. It's about building a web of connections, not just a list of isolated words.
Right. The script uses the example of focusing on environmental vocabulary when reading about climate change. So practical. It's like creating a personalized vocabulary toolkit for whatever you're reading.
Absolutely. And there are simple tools you can use to make this easier. Flashcards, vocabulary journals. Find what works for you and be consistent.
Speaking of efficiency, the next strategy is all about skimming and scanning. Lifesavers when you need to absorb information quickly.
Think of it as having 2 different lenses. For viewing a text, skimming gives you the big picture, while scanning zeroes in on specific details.
The script gives a great tip. Read headlines, subheadings, and the first sentences of paragraphs.
Yeah.
Before diving deeper. It's like creating a mental map.
Yes.
Before exploring the territory.
It's all about being a more active reader. You're not just passively taking in words. You're making decisions about where to focus your attention.
Love that. Okay, next up is a strategy. That ties back to subvocalization. Training our eyes and brains to work more efficiently.
Remember that speed limit we talked about?
Oh, yeah.
The script suggests using a pointer, like your finger or a pen, to guide your eyes. This helps control eye movement, reduce rereading, and ultimately break free from that subvocalization habit.
So by giving our eyes a physical guide, we help our brain process information more smoothly. That's fascinating. Now, the script also talks about choosing reading material. That's at the right level for you.
Yeah.
Not too easy, not too hard.
Right.
But that sweet spot where you're challenged but not overwhelmed. What are your thoughts on this?
Finding that sweet spot is crucial. If the material is too difficult, you'll get bogged down. But if it's too easy, you won't learn anything new. It's like a workout. You need to find the right level of resistance to build strength.
Makes perfect sense. The script encourages us to think about our current reading choices and whether they're hitting that sweet spot. So if you're finding yourself constantly struggling or bored, it might be time to reevaluate.
Exactly. Challenge yourself, but don't punish yourself.
Now, let's dive into a strategy I find super helpful, summarizing as you go. The script suggests pausing after a section and asking yourself, what was that about?
It sounds simple, but it's incredibly powerful. It forces you to actively process the material and put it into your own words. It's like having a mini conversation with yourself about the text.
That's such a great way to put it. And speaking of actively engaging with the text, the script wraps up with a strategy that emphasizes consistency, reading every day.
Reading, like any skill, improves with practice.
Yeah.
So the more you do it, the better you'll get.
Totally. The script also encourages variety, books, articles, blogs, even subtitles.
Right.
The key is to find what you enjoy and make reading a regular part of your routine.
And here's where it gets personal. Think about your interests and goals.
Mm-hmm.
Are you trying to learn about a specific topic, preparing for an exam, or just reading for pleasure? Tailor your reading choices to your own needs and motivations.
Covered a lot of ground, from vocabulary to subvocalization to finding the right reading material. All these strategies work together to help us become more efficient and engaged readers.
Mm-hmm.
But before we go any further, let's take a quick pause so
Okay.
you can absorb everything we've discussed so far. When we come back, we'll continue our deep dive into the remaining strategies, including techniques for dealing with that pesky subvocalization habit.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were discussing the importance of choosing reading material. That hits that sweet spot, challenging, but not overwhelming.
Right. And I think this idea applies to more than just reading.
Yeah.
You know, we need to constantly push ourselves beyond our comfort zones in all aspects of learning.
Sure.
But in a way that feels manageable and rewarding.
It's about embracing a growth mindset and believing in our capacity to improve.
So how do we actually apply this to our reading habits?
Well, the script suggests experimenting with different genres and authors.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone and explore something new. You might be surprised at what you discover.
It's like diversifying your reading portfolio.
Yeah.
And speaking of diversifying, the script also touches on the importance of reading diverse perspectives.
This is crucial. In today's world, we're constantly bombarded with information from all sides. It's important to critically evaluate different viewpoints and form our own informed opinions.
Reading is one of the best ways to do that, by exposing ourselves to a wide range of voices and perspectives. We can challenge our own assumptions and broaden our understanding of the world.
It's like opening a window to different cultures, beliefs, and ways of life.
So how can we ensure we're reading diversely?
One way is to consciously seek out authors from different backgrounds, cultures, and countries. Another strategy is to pay attention to the types of stories we're reading. Are we only reading about people who look and think like us? Or are we also seeking out stories that challenge our perspectives and introduce us to new ways of seeing the world?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to ask for recommendations from friends, librarians, or even online communities.
Yeah.
There are so many resources available to help us discover new and exciting authors.
The key is to be curious and open-minded. Reading should be an adventure, a journey of discovery. That takes us beyond our own limited experiences.
Okay, let's circle back to subvocalization. We talk about how it can limit our reading speed. What are some techniques for overcoming this habit?
The script suggests a few strategies. One is using a pointer to guide your eyes, which can help break the connection between your eyes and inner voice. Another technique is consciously speeding up your reading pace.
So instead of letting that inner voice dictate the speed,
we're
taking control.
Right.
But can that impact comprehension?
It can feel uncomfortable at first, but with practice, your brain can adapt and process information more quickly. The key is to focus on reading for meaning, not just speed.
It's not about mindlessly skimming through the text. It's about engaging with the material and extracting the key ideas.
Exactly. And that's where summarizing as you go comes in.
Right.
By pausing after each section and asking yourself, what was that about? You're forcing yourself to actively process the information and make sure you're understanding it.
It's like checking in with yourself to make sure you're not just reading the words, but actually absorbing the meaning. So to wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with a question.
Okay.
How can we balance the desire for speed with the need for comprehension?
That's a great question.
Because ultimately we want to become more efficient and engaged readers.
And it's one we'll explore further. When we come back, we'll delve into specific techniques for improving both speed and comprehension, and discuss how to find that perfect balance for your individual reading goals.
Welcome back to our deep dive into becoming a faster, more effective reader.
Right.
Before the break, we were talking about balancing speed with comprehension, a crucial aspect of improving your reading skills.
It's like finding that sweet spot between sprinting and savoring a delicious meal.
I love that. You want to move quickly.
Right.
But you also want to absorb all the flavors and textures. So
Yeah.
how do we find that balance in our reading?
Well, the script emphasizes that it's not about reading as fast as humanly possible.
Right.
It's about reading at a pace that allows you to understand and retain the information.
It's about quality over quantity, right?
Exactly. And remember, speed isn't just about moving your eyes quickly across the page. It's also about processing information efficiently.
Yeah.
That's where those techniques we discussed earlier come in.
Yeah.
Minimizing subvocalization, using a pointer to guide your eyes, and consciously pushing yourself to read a little faster.
Those techniques are like training wheels for our brains, helping them shift into a higher gear.
Precisely. But just like learning to ride a bike, it takes practice.
Yeah.
Don't get discouraged. If you don't see results immediately, keep practicing, and you'll gradually find yourself reading faster and comprehending more.
The script also highlights the importance of being flexible in your reading approach.
Not all texts require the same level of scrutiny.
Okay.
Sometimes you need to zoom in and analyze every detail, while other times a quick skim is enough.
So how do we know when to speed up and when to slow down?
It depends on your purpose for reading. Are you reading for pleasure, for information, or to prepare for a presentation?
Yeah.
Your reading speed and level of engagement should adapt accordingly.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about being a strategic reader, consciously choosing your approach based on the task at hand.
Exactly. It's like having different tools in your reading toolbox and knowing which one to use for each job.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into this podcast script on reading faster and understanding more in English, I want to leave you with a challenge. Think about how you can apply these strategies to your own reading habits. Experiment. Find what works for you. And most importantly, enjoy the journey of becoming a more skilled and passionate reader.
And remember, reading shouldn't be a chore. It should be a source of pleasure, discovery, and growth.
Beautifully said. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
Until next time, keep practicing and stay confident.